Look, there's an old rule in comedy, right, that if it's funny, it's not offensive. But at the same time, the first, second, and third joke can be funny. The fourth, fifth, and sixth mean that you may have a different message, right?
I think that's the dilemma here, Leland. He actually started off with a very strong, very well-crafted joke, which was an apology to Jewish people delivered with a degree of sincerity, and then sort of, snidely said, Kanye, that's how you buy yourself some extra time. That's a good topical joke. It was the follow-up to that I think was problematic. And the clip you just played, if I went on your air here and said, there are two words you shouldn't put together, and I'm pulling this out of thin air, the Poles or, the Lithuanians or whatever, just random ideas, that could be potentially very problematic. And if I'd mentioned certain groups, it would be exceedingly problematic. So some people, quote unquote, get away with things, and some people do not.
It's interesting, though, that anti-Semitism has sort of come back into the zeitgeist because of Kanye and Kyrie Irving and others. In this sort of the trope that Jews control everything, or Jews control Hollywood in particular, is one that obviously is what Goldblatt was talking about in that tweet. This is what Chappelle said about Jews in Hollywood and comparing them to blacks in Ferguson, Missouri. Take a listen.
I could see if you had some kind of issue, you know what I mean? You might go out to Hollywood and you might start connecting some kind of lines, and you could maybe adopt the delusion that the Jews run show business. It's not a crazy thing to think, but it's a crazy thing to say out loud, and kind of like this.
And yet he's saying it out loud.
Exactly. Well, this is a phrase, Sarah Silverman was the first to come up with this, about the quiet part out loud. And I think that is an example of a joke you wouldn't, couldn't, shouldn't tell about other groups. And, the quip that I have, if Jews ran show business, gosh, I think I would be doing a little bit better. It's just, it is a trope. It is a tired trope. It is an anti-Semitic trope.
Right.
And the dilemma when you sort of utter this stuff is there are people, unfortunately, there are likely people watching this nodding, oh, you see, he's on to something. Right. And that's a terrible thing. And you don't, I think, want to put that out.
Yeah, and it is perhaps even different on a comedy show than it is on NBC Saturday Night Live, which sort of gives this impression of at least a little bit of wholesomeness and an endorsement of the more general media acceptance lane than a late night comedy show on Netflix. Still, though, anti-Semitism may be the last accepted form of hate. Kyrie Irving and Kanye both punished for what they had to say, but it all stemmed from this book called Hebrews to Negroes about the Black Israelites issue. That book is still for sale on Amazon. And for all the hand-wringing about Kanye and Kyrie, I don't hear anything about Jeff Bezos and how it's wrong that he's selling a book that is clearly anti-Semitic and clearly propagating this, certainly because of Kanye and Kyrie and now Dave Chappelle. The book is selling better. The movie's doing better on Amazon. Isn't there a greater responsibility for them to take it down?
Well, the dilemma here is, I think you very likely, and I would never venture to speak for the Jewish community, but I think you don't want to be in a position as any entity saying, oh, well, books should be banned or a particular movie should be banned. That's maybe a third rail you don't want to touch. You would hope people have their own sort of moral guardrails. There's a lot of horrible stuff out there that is offensive to a variety of different groups. And what's problematic here is, okay, it's a book or a film that exists that, if you dig in the recesses of Amazon, you can find. But that, to me, is distinctly different than very high-profile public people making the utterances that they have made. I mean, obviously, the Kanye thing was unapologetically, completely, thoroughly anti-Semitic, and then he double, tripled down on it several times.
Thanks for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to subscribe. Click the red button to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.